Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I'm Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me today is Jay Hughesman. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you, Sharon. Vegas has some great speed. I think I was lacking a little bit, so I got a lap down early. I am trying to catch up and get back on the lead lap here. So,
Well, we asked a question in our live chat here, and All Sports All Day has responded. I asked, what is the biggest storyline from the weekend? And he says Hamlin's win for sure. The options were Hamlin's comeback win, Larson stealing the O'Reilly Series race, or the Toyota dominance.
well, and Hamlin kind of falls under that. I would have put it on the Toyota dominance. I know I listed that as one of the hot topics I sent Sharon from the Cup Series. Yeah, from the Cup Series. So I would have to go with just the Toyota dominance overall.
Okay, so we've got two different versions there. I think since you guys took the other two, I'll take the Larson stealing the O'Reilly Series race.
But is that a top story? Like, that was expected. I mean, that's why I wouldn't pick that one, honestly. That's expected.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get into our hot topics here for tonight. And I just want to mention Las Vegas really delivered a full weekend of speed, strategy, and surprises. In the NASCAR O'Reilly Series, it was a Cup Series superstar that dropped in and stole the spotlight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But the series regulars make sure that he had to earn it to win it. And then on Sunday in the NASCAR Cup Series race, we saw a veteran championship contender prove once again why he's still one of the most dangerous drivers in the sport as he continues his racing achievement journey. And by dangerous, I mean dangerous to the competition. He is a big competitor, and we'll talk more about that as we go along here too. We're going to break down the biggest storylines from Las Vegas, including dominant performance that didn't end in victory, rising champion, I'm going to say chase contenders, and what it all means heading into the next weekend at Darlington. This is Hot Topic Sound Off, and so let's go ahead and get started, Jay.
All right. Well, let me see if I can load that page. I know you sent me a list of the hot topics. Let me see if I can pull them. All right. Why don't you pick one? I'm still working on loading pages.
Well, I'm just going to go in the order that I've got them listed there, and then we're going to start with the NASCAR O'Reilly Series. The Laguna race winner was Kyle Larson. He dropped in and stole the show. Kyle Larson came into Las Vegas for a one-off start and walked away with the victory driving for Junior Motorsports. Cup drivers continue to raise the bar when they enter the series, or are they really stealing the show from the Xfinity Series drivers? And then Larson's late race execution sealed the win. And is Junior Motorsports picking up where they left off with their dominance in this series?
Well, first off, let's just start with Larson winning it. And I think All Sports All Day kind of said it. He didn't dominate it. But your key factor there, he is a Cup driver, a veteran, the experience of maintained there when it counted. You know, we used to talk about Kevin Harvick being the closer. Where did he come from? All of a sudden, he's there at the end. So I think that kind of played in. So got to give the O'Reilly Auto Parts regulars, again, they didn't just let him walk in there and dominate him as he has in the past. So that tells me the competition level, like you mentioned, of increasing from that. So I like that. And I'm okay with Larson winning. He obviously earned it. The key factor there, I think you hit on, you know me here lately, I've been all about organizations. And yes, Junior Motorsports as in an organization, if they're not the top, they got to be right there and in that discussion. I know you still have JGR teams, but their drivers aren't what Junior Motorsports are. I feel like Junior Motorsports has been the bar in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series for the past couple of years.
They have been the bar. They've been the dominant bar, I would say, over the past year. And coming into this year, it seems like they're picking up right where they left off. But I'm asking the question, too, did Larson win this race or did the series regulars lose it? What do you think?
Yeah, kind of a little bit of a combination of both. Larson was coming, had been working on his car, didn't have the best car of the day by any means, but that goes back to the team of that organization. So I say it's a little bit of a combination of both. I don't know that they necessarily gave it away, but he didn't exactly go down and take it away either when talking about just having an outright dominant performance. And he said that the crew acknowledged that. We gave a mediocre car to a top driver, and he delivered.
Yes. Larson, All Sports All Day says Larson won it. I don't think anyone, maybe Love, gave it away. It was just a good race with very competitive top five. And I would agree with that. There were contenders throughout the day in that race, including Jesse Love and Justin Allgaier, and that. So I think it was a combination, but I think for the most part, they didn't make it easy for him. I'll put it that way. They made him work for it. I agree with that.
Absolutely, you're right. Like I said, it wasn't one of those of he just came down, dominated, whooped him, and went on his way. It was a race all day. You mentioned Justin Allgaier again. Is it a giveaway in his case, being that he had won stages 1 and 2, was up front anyway? I think maybe that, again, the experience of Kyle Larson and that team behind him stepping up, making the right changes to the car, whereas maybe Justin Allgaier's team kind of let it get away from him from that aspect. Now, Jesse Love, I know in his post-race, really disappointed. He felt like maybe he did actually give it away. But again, if somebody behind you has the better car, it's a matter of how many laps can you hold them off, type deal. So I know he was disappointed to not get the win. Did he outright give it away? I just think that at that point in the race, Larson had a little bit better car, a little bit better experience, on how you drive. And Jesse Love's relatively new. He got, going to learn that. So I'm sure in his mind he gave it away. I wouldn't have listed that as, he blew it and had it in the bag and lost it. Could he have done some things, little things maybe a little bit differently? Yeah, as you get more years and races under your belt, you're going to learn those things, and Larson's learned them in a multitude of platforms.
Yes, he has. And All Sports All Day, I'm going to mention to you that we are going to talk about Corey Day a little bit later. It was an impressive run by Corey Day. His little battle with Larson was really cool to see. And I agree, that was a lot of fun to watch. But we do have him as part of our topic discussion a little bit later in this segment. So stay tuned for that as well. I thought Larson put on a good show, and we've talked about this before. The O'Reilly Series drivers benefit from drivers like William Byron and Kyle Larson and Chase Briscoe coming down into the series and racing with them, because they will become better drivers trying to beat a driver like Kyle Larson. And Corey Day's example is a good example of that. Contending with Kyle Larson, he's coming in the series as a really good driver anyway, but competing against Kyle Larson like that is going to benefit those drivers in the long run.
Well, and I think one of the things that I think, and I think it was intentional from that point of Kyle Larson, I don't know that it was necessarily an ego thing, but he said he goes down there to whoop up on them, to humble them and show them they're not ready for Sunday, or what it'll take. Of that, in his way, that is him teaching, the next ones. And like I said, several of these drivers, he's gone literally wheel to wheel with on several aspects or platforms of racing, dirt tracks, sprint cars, whatnot, as well as then in the O'Reilly. So he knows what they're capable of. And it also, in turn, keeps him sharp as they improve. He's got to keep up his game.
He sure does. Okay. And he did have late race execution. He was a closer in this race, Kyle Larson. So that was really cool to see too. And you mentioned Junior Motorsports. They, like I said, they've just picked up where they left off. It's carrying right on into this season, and they've got several Chevrolet drivers that are going to make that continue to happen this season. Let's move on to Justin Allgaier, because he dominated pretty much that race. He's the one who really dominated this race, but was not able to close it out. He left Vegas without the trophy in this case. It looked like he was the driver to beat for most of the race. He won both early stages, both stage 1 and stage 2. He led a large chunk of the race, but the late race adjustments didn't go his way. So is his pit crew and the adjustments that they make, is that going to be his downfall this season? Will that limit his ability to be a chase contender?
Absolutely not, because I don't think this was a matter of that they necessarily made the wrong adjustments. Maybe the experience of, you talk about him dominating, being up front. What do you tell your crew of, hey, what adjustments do you need? I'm out front leading. I'm good. I got the car. Well, then once you get back a little bit in traffic or something, then they're like, oh yeah, my car needed this. That's why these guys were catching me. How do you know that other than building that notebook from past experience? And he does have experience. So I think that's kind of where that falls, was being that he was out front. He just wasn't keeping up, him and the team. And I say that both ways, because the driver's got to give that feedback. If they say, what do you need? And I said, nothing, I'm good. I'm out front. And I don't know exactly what their communication was. And they talk about this a lot. What do you do when you're out front and your car is handling good out front in the clean air, because you don't know what you need if you're not the front runner? So that's a combination between the driver, the crew, and making those adjustments. And yeah, they didn't quite keep up or make unknown adjustments that they would need, and a couple of them got by. Again, it's not like he dropped off the face of the earth, fourth, I think. I mean.
Okay. All Sports All Day says, I think it's true in races like Saturday, though, when you get a race like I think at Homestead or Bristol last year in O'Reilly, no way they're learning anything from him having a 15-second lead. And that's in addressing the point that we were making about the drivers do learn from the Cup drivers when they come in. And you're right. But in this case, I think Larson was right in there racing with them and giving them a chance. I don't think he stole any glory from the O'Reilly Series drivers. I think that he gave them a chance to shine. And Justin Allgaier did shine for most of that race, but those late race adjustments kind of killed his momentum.
Well, and Sheldon Creed's another one. He's right there in the mix, come home third. Had an incident during the race, and we'll talk about that. But we're seeing how solid they can be. Again, when you have Cup driver you have to consider it a lower, not degrading those drivers, but a lower tier the organization.
Tier.
Yeah, it is. Okay, you all work to get to the Cup level, and these guys are coming down, stepping back into where they came from. So you would expect them to be the front runners. One aspect I looked at, and this might just be me, I looked at it as far as the Cup drivers, the cream rising to the top. But it also appeared to me that Las Vegas tends to favor dirt track drivers that have that experience to be able to search and find the line and find the grip and find the speed. Just from what I saw when you look at Kyle Larson, Chase Briscoe, some of these drivers that have that dirt background and needed to be able to find speed. If the car in front of them was in their lane, go and find speed in a different lane and a different way to attack the track. And that's where I think your dirt track background helps.
And I agree with you. I think the dirt track background does help at a track like Las Vegas because it's a very slippery track. It was warm. It was a slick track, and they were slipping and sliding all over the place. So I think that the drivers who have that dirt track experience do better on that type of a track. And of course, Kyle Larson is one of those drivers. Corey Day is one of those drivers. So Chase Briscoe is one of those drivers. So is Christopher Bell. So, but he's a Cup Series driver. I don't think he raced the Xfinity, did he?
No, he wasn't in the O'Reilly this weekend.
O'Reilly, yeah. But yeah, you're right. I think that when you have drivers that have the dirt experience, they're going to do really well at a track like Las Vegas. And again, if you've only raced on asphalt and you have these really slick tracks, it's going to be a little bit tougher for you because you're not used to having the car that loose and driving it that loose, whereas dirt track drivers definitely do. So that's why I think we saw some of the ones that we saw up front.
And I think the other factor there is you get a little further down. Jesse Love dropped back as far down to 6th, Connor Zilich in 7th, Corey Day. Just that patience of endurance, let the car and the track come to you versus trying to, when you're younger, just stand on the throttle and go and give it all it's got. And that too, I mean, that's where your experience comes in. I think all those are little factors, but when you put multiple of them on one driver and team, such as Junior Motorsports and Kyle Larson, yeah, they're tough to beat.
Yeah, you kind of did it, Jay, but let's go ahead and go down the list here. Kyle Larson in 1st, Chase Briscoe 2nd, Sheldon Creed was 3rd, Justin Allgaier in 4th, Sammy Smith came in 5th. You've got Jesse Love, who finished in 6th place, Connor Zilich in 7th, Corey Day 8th, William Sawalich came home 9th, good run for him, Jay, and Austin Hill finished out the top 10 here.
And that's one of the things of, honestly, Kyle Larson has been on both sides of this. We heard the crew say, hey, we gave him a mediocre car and he made it a race winning car. He's been on the other end too of having a race winning car and making it a mediocre car because he does get right up on that line. A couple of weeks ago, it might have been as far back as Daytona when they had to sit down with him and Jeff Gordon and Rick Hendrick. That was something Jeff Gordon, commented, can we get him more than a half inch off the wall? Give it a full inch, because he does tend to run that ragged edge, that line all the time. And Jeff's point was sometimes you got to, back it down a little, go slower to go faster. Everybody's like, that don't make no sense. It really does.
It does.
And I think Kyle has evolved into that, honestly.
Okay, getting back to Justin Allgaier, though, I do want to just mention that Justin Allgaier is definitely still chase worthy, and I'm sure he's going to be there when the 10-race chase begins. So do you think he's the favorite to win this year?
Boy, that's a tough one because we got other drivers and organizations that are coming on. Initially, yes, you'd have to write him in, pencil him in, if you will, as one of the top contenders. He's delivered so far this year already. But I see other teams and organizations, Haas Factory being one of them, as an organization, Sheldon Creed most specifically, just being very consistent, which is, I think, has been one of his downfalls. He's had multiple second place finishes, but then he had a bunch of DNFs or whatever. Some of his own doing, some not. But once you get to that level of, just that consistency. So is he the absolute top favorite? There's a lot of talent in the drivers as well as the organization. And we saw that last year with Jesse Love and RCR, Connor Zilich in the Junior Motorsports, a teammate, Austin Hill. Don't ever count him out, So he's one of the top 3. You talk about the big 3. Yeah, I would have to put him in one of my top 3, regardless, even if he were to have a couple of bad weeks. It's Justin Allgaier's Junior Motorsports. I would still put him in one of the top 3, unless they're having an absolutely off year, which we've seen. I hate to use Alex Bowman in the 48 from the Cup side, Last year we saw it with drew a blank. I'll fill in that blank later. Well, yeah, of even having the dominant team, but that race, not winning the championship. But I had somebody else in mind. Going back to like Kevin Harvick, just we've seen that where they don't finish the deal.
Right.
But I don't see that out of Junior Motorsports and Justin Allgaier. So yeah, like I said, I would put him in the top 3 regardless at this point.
Yeah, All Sports All Day says it's between Love, Hill, and Allgaier. But I think that could change over the course of the season. And we'll have to see if it does. But I think you're right. I think those are the top 3 contenders right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were what you call the preseason favorites based on performance and whatnot. And they're delivering right now. I mean, you can't argue against them either based on what they've done already so far. And that's where I see Sheldon Creed as that one sneaking in as the and me. But there's so many others I think it could be. Hope it will be if William Sawalitz picks it up. Carson Cavapo, another Junior Motorsports part-time occasional driver bouncing around. I think he's got to be in that discussion. He was one of the championship 4 last year.
All right. I think you're right. I think there's a lot of opportunities for other drivers to step up. We'll see who does step up as the season progresses. I want to talk about Chase Briscoe, though. He charged from deep in the field. He actually started in 23rd. He finished in 2nd. His late race charge kept pressure on Larson during the final run. He was probably one of the strongest comeback drivers this weekend.
And that's where, when they were focused on him and his progression, is really where it started to hit me, not just on the Cup side, but the dirt track experience of being able to work your way back through the field. That's kind of where that thought hit me, and I messaged Sharon with that from that aspect. Again, that's just my viewpoint of what I was seeing. Always like to hear what other people are thinking if they see that same thing.
Okay. He says, yeah, but Cavapos starts for DGM are going to hurt from All Sports All Day. Those are Junior Motorsports prepared cars at DGM, by the way.
And that's something that's a valid point, and I had that same thought, but as Sharon pointed out, they are then Junior Motorsports prepared cars, so that helps. But what we've seen from him, even in the DGM, I think he still had a top 10 with that car. I don't know where those races fall in the chase. That would be a big key factor, in my opinion, is if he is with one consistent once they hit the chase. And I'd have to look into his schedule to give you any more on that.
Right. And I think Las Vegas is one of those tracks that is in the chase as well. So it's going to be interesting. And then he goes back to the dirt discussion. I think dirt racing helps almost, period. It doesn't, almost no matter what.
Okay, Coda is where he was at. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All Sports All Day. Our statistician.
Yes, thank you so much for doing that. We really appreciate it. I just want to mention, I've got notes in 2 different places here, so I'm kind of going back and forth. Getting back to Briscoe, he really had a good hard charge coming up through the field, and but he also had, did he have a speeding penalty? Was that in the Cup Series or was that here?
Both, I think. I'm trying to think in the Xfinity. Whatever it was, he did have to overcome some things, and yes, he was working his tail off to get it back. But that goes back to, again, not fully dirt tracking, but the experience level.
Yeah, it really does. And he's another driver that has that dirt track experience, as you mentioned. He also showed a lot of good long run speed. And he was showing them how they can pass at Las Vegas. It's funny, I heard a discussion on Sirius XM about that a lot of times people think that they can't pass at certain tracks. And people like Ryan Blaney, not at Las Vegas, but Chase Briscoe at Las Vegas, showed them how they can pass.
It is. And there again, is it the car, the setup, the driver, combination of things? It can be done. I think I've always, Sharon knows this, of get frustrated when I hear that, because you see drivers and teams that are, so it can be done. You're just missing something on the setup or the crew chief or the communication and the driver sharing what he needs and whatever. It can be done. You just got to get all those parts together.
The discussion question is, could Briscoe have won with a better starting position? I don't think it would have mattered what position he started in. I think whatever his position, and he did start 23rd and raced his way through the field. I don't think it would have mattered where he started. I think he would have done well. And I think that there was enough competition. Keep in mind that one of the reasons that he had was in the back is of their own doing. So.
And that's where I said, though, too, of, okay, you do qualify well, you run up front, but then are you keeping up and making the right changes to adjust to the track and the temperature? Yeah. And they talked about that on the front stretch, that where the speed was picking up, because the front stretch gets shaded from the grandstands, that then you get more grip and speed. So there again, you got to have the full team that can make those adjustments for what you will need later, whether you're out front still or in the back, because the ones in the back know they need to do something different and are working on their car to get better. If you're staying the same, they're going to catch you.
Okay. Speaking of this Chase watch, because we had that topic on here as well, and you brought this up, that Sheldon Creed is one of the drivers that could be the top three in me in this year's this series Chase watch. So who's emerging as a title contender or as a Chase contender? Sheldon Creed continues to be strong. He finished third. He keeps himself in the Chase conversation. He's had consistent top five speed, a strong start to the season, quietly building momentum this season.
He's one that, since he came from the Truck Series, I've been waiting for this. So I'm a little timid, and he's one of my favorites. I like him. One of the things that I think has hindered him for a variety of reasons, I'm not going to go into all that, is changing organizations, changing manufacturers, changing crew chiefs. Got to get that consistency. And that includes him on the track, because we've seen him get seconds up until this year when he got his first win, but then have 30th place, 20th place, 30th place, then have another second place run. Especially in this new Chase format, you got to be consistent across the board.
Okay. Is there anybody that you think would be a surprise Chase contender that might develop over the season? I know Corey Day's in the conversation with that, but who that is not currently in the top 12? Could anybody below that top 12 move up into?
All right, so I was looking at the list. There were a couple that were down there, but they were in the top 12. So I will go by your rules. Just outside the 12th is 13th is Jeb Burton, and we've seen not Sam Hunt, sorry. He's not with Sam Hunt. It was Jordan Anderson. I had to think of it. Sorry. Jordan Anderson Racing. Are they there yet? They are improving, and right on the verge. And Jeb Burton is one of those that has always been right on that cut line. And then you got William Swalich in 15th. Obviously, I believe in him. The ones that I said of above the line right there would be Taylor Gray, because he's the one I look forward to in the next year or two have a breakout year and possibly put up.
Uh-oh. Okay. I don't know what happened to Jay. He froze up there. So All Sports All Day says, very proud of Creed taking responsibility for the Gray incident. Perfect point. This is like Creed's third team and OEM. It is, and we have that coming up here as well, is as one of our topics. I'm not sure what's happened to Jay, if he's going to be able to come back. Jay, you might have to go out and come back. I'm going to take him off the stage. And see, yeah, see, he, for some reason, it's freezing up here for Jay. Yeah, he says, my thought froze. Yeah, you froze up Jay. So anyway, Jay will be back here. I think he'll probably have to sign off and come back in. But let me kind of continue down my notes. Let me ask you this. Is Corey Day, there was some controversy with him. He had a few rough ups at the beginning of the season, and I know we're only on race number 5. But in the short time that Corey Day has been, with the Xfinity Series full time, is he already showing signs of maturing? Jay?
All right, that's the question, Ron. I see you put it up there. Is Corey Day? I think so. I think we saw some things the past 2 weeks of him already calming down with how hard he's on the throttle, making better race decisions of, yeah, I could go for it and get this one position, or I could let it go and get a good, better finishing position and not have somebody pissed off at me after the race. He left that up to a couple other drivers. So I see it already in just these past couple of weeks, and we see that by the results on the track then of where he finishes and who he has talking to him after the race.
Okay, and All Sports All Day says he learned quickly if he kept it up, he'd have it coming for him. And then also, the bar was also very low through 3 races. The only place to go was up. That is true. But he was running top 10, I think, in all of the races that they've run so far this year. I think he's had top 10 finishes. Or at least racing in the top 10 at some point throughout the race. But yeah, I think he has matured. I think he did learn very quickly. And he took the feedback that was given to him,
Exactly.
And
exactly.
He used that feedback to make himself better on the track. And I think he realized very quickly, last thing I want to do is make enemies out here as a rookie. I'm going to try to use that feedback and learn from it. So you got to give him a lot of kudos for that. And I think he is showing signs of maturity already. We've seen a lot of drivers who don't get it that quickly. And so it's kind of refreshing when you see somebody who does.
And I think that was shown in what you mentioned, the Kyle Larson, Corey Day. Yeah, they still went wheel to wheel. They battled even as teammates, if you will. And I think that's where I really first had that thought of, didn't take either of them out, kind of gave a little bit, and he said, hey, it is Kyle Larson, let me get in line behind him and learn and follow, but also didn't lose his aggression. He didn't say, okay, I'm just going to pull over and let you pass, but I'm going to be a little bit smarter about battling you and then giving it and getting in line behind you.
Okay. Let's move on to this one. The bump or the block, the situation between Creed and Gray.
All right, I'm going to have to let you guys go first. All Sports All Day. I want to kind of hear your take on this for sure. But I have an opinion, but I also have more of a favorite driver, if you will. So I'm curious to see what you guys thought on it.
Well, I think that the people on the commentators looked at it pretty closely, and they felt that it was just one of those racing incidents. Nobody really did anything all that bad. I'm sure that if you're Creed or if you're Gray, you might think differently in the heat of the moment. But I think if you go back and you look at that, I don't know if maybe a spotter didn't communicate or what, but I think it was hard racing, is my opinion.
All right, I haven't seen All Sports All Day yet, but and that was, as they broke it down, they kind of went back and forth. They initially said, yeah, Creed was a little aggressive. Then they're like, oh, maybe not. And I will say this, and this is one where, and I like Taylor Gray, and I said I'm waiting on him to have his breakout year. I think Creed may be in his. He took partial blame, if you will, but he also said, hey, the dude blocked me 3 times, and I was there. I had the run. So, all right. So All Sports All Day said, I listened to both interviews. Creed's fault, and he admitted it. Gray was trying to pass Day, and Creed thought he was throwing a block. Oh, I hadn't looked at that as far as him being focused on Day and making the pass and it not even really being a block. Huh, that's kind of interesting. And you're right. Creed did admit to some fault, but he also said, hey, the dude blocked me 3 times. So,
yes.
Okay, that was on front stretch. Okay. And that's where I say I think I saw more maturity from Creed. Whereas Gray, and I understand he's the one that lost more out of the deal, being more frustrated, but I don't think he was completely, and I agree with Sharon, just calling it overall hard racing. The other thing, and I never got to see the telemetry, we saw this a few weeks ago with Kyle Busch when he was upset. If you are in front of somebody and then let up, yeah, they're still on the throttle. They're going to run into you.
You're going to get hit.
And I didn't see that or know if there was any of that. If as he came down in front of Creed, if his car let up a little bit, and it wouldn't take much because Creed was right there. So I kind of put it as an overall racing incident. I didn't see major fault or wrongdoing on either side. But I like that Creed took more responsibility than Taylor Gray did.
Yes, he did. Then admitted Gray was trying to pass Day, and Creed thought he was throwing a block. So he didn't even take Day into consideration in all of that. So, and I
hadn't either, honestly. Yeah, I hadn't noticed that there was another third that could have been why Gray was making the move he did, that it wasn't really a block.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we've already talked about the does Vegas favor dirt drivers or cup drivers? We've already kind of covered that point. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, go ahead.
Even though Sam Mayer, I was going to bring up Sam Mayer. I'm sorry, I asked you and then
go ahead.
Jumped in.
No, that's good.
Sam Mayer grabbed the pole, but he faded in that race. He couldn't convert the speed into a win and slipped down in the order during the race. He's fast in qualifying, but his race execution fell short. What are your thoughts about that?
He is another one, and almost the same story from my perspective of Sheldon Creed. Different organizations, very talented, maybe needs to learn to come off the throttle a little bit once in a while and not cause him to fall back like he did. I think once he gets that, he's going to be a serious contender. He is now a contender, but he can have those bad days where you take a top 5 car and turn it into a 10th place or worse. So I'd like to see more of the not doing that per se.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think that Sam Mayer is his worst enemy. I think he's trying so hard that it goes back to what you were saying about going slower helps you go faster. He's trying so hard and going so fast at it that he's not looking at the bigger picture, I think, sometimes, and it gets him in trouble quite a bit. The points battle right now, Jesse Love's down 13 points, Austin Hill 29, Sheldon Creed's down 49 points. What was your other hot topic?
No, well, that wasn't necessarily a hot topic. It was the appreciation of, as I say, I wanted to hear from y'all or you in All Sports All Day, as I knew he'd be on here, because that different perspective of what I see and feel or think based on a lot of different things, to have somebody else input. So All Sports All Day, greatly appreciate that. Because like I said, I had never even pinned Corey Day as a part of that conversation. And, you said you listened to an interview on Front Stretch. So greatly appreciate that other input. Even if it doesn't agree with me, I appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. Okay. I'm just making sure that we've talked about all the topics that I wanted to talk about. Okay, let's move on to Denny Hamlin's comeback victory. Hamlin overcame a pit road speeding penalty and still won the race. He led the most laps, recovered from adversity. He's a proven veteran race management. And the big question here, well, I'm going to hold that question. But let's talk about the other points. The fact that he overcame the adversity and still won the race. One of the things we talk about is being a sign of a champion.
And you know what? Thinking back to the original question of which is the biggest storyline, I'd kind of forgotten that, because I think about it of that he was dominant, although he didn't win the race in the fall. You know, the broadcaster was talking about it. Same for him, same car, same driver, same team for the most part. So yeah, he should be there. But you're right. The fact that it was, as you mentioned, the comeback and the overcoming. And I just think about that of both him and Ty Gibbs got that penalty, had to go to the back. Gibbs didn't come back quite as good. And that goes back to the experience, the composure, which we have seen lack of when it comes to Denny Hamlin at times. But in this case, showed that, you know, and I think of especially again with his family there, what he's gone through in the off season. The fans are starting to come around on him. There's a deserved win. I mean, again, I hadn't really given it that full credit of a comeback win, not just a win, but that comeback and overcoming. And you're right. That is what makes a championship, is that overcoming the bad days, especially if it's with a win.
Yep. He was penalized for speeding on pit road during stage 2. He stormed back through the field. He led a race high 134 laps and won by 0.502 seconds. It was also his 61st career win in the Cup Series. That moves him into 10th place all time for Cup Series wins. So that
Harvick is out.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I want to talk about here is that Denny Hamlin's demeanor has changed considerably. And fans are liking what they're seeing from him. And instead of boos, we're hearing a lot more cheers for Denny Hamlin. Has he matured to the point that he can go after that championship? Because I think his immaturity in previous years have kind of kept him from winning. And I know a lot of people would disagree with the term immaturity, but I think he's shot himself in the foot in a number of occasions because of a lack of emotional intelligence.
Well, and that's different than the question that you have on our notes.
I know.
Let me do this. I'll read it as it's in the notes. It says, "Did this win make Hamlin a championship favorite again?" My answer to that would be no. And I say that he is already a championship favorite, right? Based on that,
I changed it further on down. If you notice further down.
Oh, okay, I got you. You know, yeah, he's Denny Hamlin again, barring an off year of him not winning, which we saw a couple of years ago. Yeah, he is a championship favorite just based on who he is, the organization he's with, his talent. Now, specifically of the championship favorite and not shooting himself in the foot, as you put it, there I would have to say absolutely. Honestly, I felt bad for him not winning it last year. I felt like he had it last year. Circumstances is what took it away from him in that case. So people are like, wait, I've heard you talk for years. You're not a Denny Hamlin fan. I'm not per se, but I do feel like that was his championship last year. Honestly, I really do. You look at his whole season, 6 wins. He dominated that race. It was circumstances at the end. I get it. It's part of racing. That's why I wasn't a fan of the one race championship format. Again, I appreciated it. It made it interesting. I get that. But I also fell in line with, I like what they've done with the chase of show that it does take consistency week in and week out. And last year I felt like that one, Hamlin lost that one, not of his own doing. So, yeah, I sympathize with him. But yes, I do think he is in a much better position. And it's not just being emotional, because we saw him emotional on Sunday. It's how he handles
Well,
those
it's how he
emotions.
handles that emotion. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, All Sports All Day says, I thought Denny was going to have an off year. I didn't think he was as good as last year, but he's already proving me wrong. And I agree with that. I thought he might have a down year as well, All Sports All Day. But I think he said it when they interviewed him at the start finish line. He said, when I got back in the car, I realized how much I love racing. And so I think he's rediscovered his love of racing. And I think he has a different attitude going into it this year. And I think it's an attitude that a lot of the fans are embracing with him and enjoying. And I'm not a Denny Hamlin fan, or have not been in the past a Denny Hamlin fan. But I kind of like where he's going with this different attitude. And I like what I'm seeing from him.
And that's where I think I call it embracing the emotions, not acting out of them, but embracing them. And yes, and there was talk of whether or not he was going to even run this year. He admitted that he had some thoughts and debates or time spent meditating. I don't know. That's not the word he used, and you can't blame him. I mean, if you know what happened throughout the offseason and all that's gone on in his life, I wouldn't blame him if he had chosen to step away. So to see him come back, still with the passion, still with the talent, I think that does bode well for him and bad for the competition, because he's learned how to manage his emotions. Have them, but manage them.
Manage them. That's the big key. He had emotional immaturity, I would say, before, whereas now he's showing a much more mature way of dealing with those emotions. Let's move on to our next storyline, which is Hendrick Motorsports speed returns. And this kind of ties into another topic later on as well. Chase Elliott finished second, while William Byron finished third. Both cars show speed all race. Strong performance on an intermediate track. Hendrick building momentum. And I would say the Chevrolet car as well. The new body that they're dealing with is part of that as well. But Hendrick picking up where they left off as well.
And again, we have seen them struggle. And when I say struggle, that means the only top fives are only getting 3 or 4 wins instead of 10. Again, any other team would say, I'd love to struggle like that. But for them, that is kind of a backslide a little bit. I think this year, the new Chevy body, they're handling better than they did a few years ago, because I think it took like 10 to 12 races from really to get their hands around it when the ZL1 Camaro debuted. So I am seeing some very positive signs, not just Hendrick Motorsports, but as you mentioned, Chevrolet as a whole with the body. We have seen some good runs by Chevy. This race in particular, it played out. Did Denny Hamlin obviously dominated, but kind of what we talked about with the O'Reilly. Had there been another 2, maybe even 3 laps, I think we have a different winner. They talked about that of Denny Hamlin had good run, but tailed off at the end. Now, he said in his interview, he still had a little bit more to give. I don't know, because in previous runs, everybody was expecting it. We thought maybe we might see a drag race at the end. Chase Elliott still needed a lap or 2, but he was definitely coming and gaining. Now, whether Hamlin was saying, that's all right, I know where you're at and I can still beat you, I can punch it when I need to, we don't know. He said there was still something there. But, yeah, I think another lap or 2 and we'd be having a different discussion.
Yeah, I agree with you. Elliott finished second after a strong late race charge. He started 15th, closed the lap quickly in the final laps, and looked capable of catching Hamlin with a few more laps. A huge run for the number 9 team, and a sign that their 26 program is gaining momentum. And here's Byron also won stage 2. He finished in 3rd place, adding more stage points to his season tally as well. So the speed is key at 1.5 mile tracks for this season. And these ones that are coming up are ones that are going to be on the chase schedule too. So I think that's going to be interesting.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, William Byron's interview said he was one that was staying there and doing a test today.
Yes.
I didn't hear anything on that, but I know he said he was. So, yeah, I see all good signs from Chevrolet already and where they're at and where they're going to improve. Going back to what I was saying of Chase Elliott catching him, that might have been two of Denny Hamlin's crew making adjustments to maintain where he was at versus Chase Elliott's team was working on improving, because they know they got to catch the guy in front of them.
Possibly. We'll have to. I haven't heard anybody talk about that post race or anything. But talking about our next storyline, which is Toyota's early season dominance, teams from Joe Gibbs Racing and 2311 continue to lead the way. You had multiple Toyota wins already this year, 4 out of 5 races they've won. Strong qualifying and race pace, manufacturer battle heating up. And we just talked about the Chevrolet performance with the new body. So are they going to be able to compete, though, with the Toyotas that are pretty much dominating so far this season?
Well, and here again, if you go by the one category of wins, it's all Toyota, with not all Toyota, but primarily Toyota. Ford being the other one, Chevy's, not in the win column. But when you look at results like there, Hamlin got the win, Chevrolet was second and third, but we just talked about it. Had that race gone another couple of laps, it'd be a whole different story. So I'm not writing Chevrolet off, but Toyota has seemed very strong. And they, too, have run really well. Some of their drivers haven't gotten the finishes they deserve. So, I think Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe, I know, made a big climb in the points with what he did. So Ford is the one, honestly, I'm a little concerned about. Even though they got the win with Ryan Blaney, look at them this weekend. Where were they? Not good. RFK, I believe, had 3 in the top 11. Was it top 10 or top 11? Let me look at that. But that's just for this weekend. I'm just saying. So as a manufacturer battle, I'd kind of have to go Toyota, Chevy, Ford, even though Ford has that one win. Just consistent, all organizations. And I know we got another one coming up when it comes to Chevrolet. But, this weekend anyway, RFK looked like the team.
All Sports All Day says, I think they'll be able to. Hendrick is just too good. Now, the Tier 2 Chevy teams might be where they fall behind Toyota. And that's a good point because, let me give you the top 10 drivers here from Las Vegas. Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, William Byron, your top 3 drivers. Christopher Bell finished 4th. Then it was Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, that's your Ford driver, Kyle Larson, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, and Brad Keselowski, another Ford driver. So there were 2 Fords in the top 10, but other than that, it was pretty much a lot of Toyotas and a few Chevys.
And this goes back to obviously the top organizations. When you look at those as far as organization, Joe Gibbs Racing, Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing. Then you got Chris Buescher, who is the top RFK Ford, Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, 2311, which is a very top tier Toyota, second right behind Joe Gibbs with their alliance and whatnot. And they've been the team so far this year. Yeah. Joe Gibbs just getting this win. And Tyler Reddick, I know, 13th. Again, talking about having an off week, he's 13th. How many teams 14th through 36 would say, I'd love to have that problem of my board's finished 13th. So that tells you where they're at. But I do feel it still leans a little bit towards Toyota. Chevrolet making those advancements. That's why I said Ford and Penske Fords of who's the best Penske Ford? Joey Logano in 15th. Now, again, is that bad? It's not championship. You're talking,
Not
contenders.
Right.
I mean, that's not where you want to be finishing.
Exactly. And I think that Toyota has been the dominant team. Chevrolet is there, but I think it's Hendrick Chevrolets that are primarily there. The other teams, when you think about drivers like Kyle Busch, our next storyline here, and another surprise, he struggled again. Busch had another frustrating race for Richard Childress Racing, handling issues during the race, radio frustrations. What's going on at RCR, especially in the Cup Series? They've got it going in the Xfinity or O'Reilly Series, but in the Cup Series, they seem to be behind the curve.
What's really baffling to me is when Kyle Busch came over there, picked up 3 wins. They were building momentum after Tyler Reddick left, and then they got Kyle Busch. But here, as of the last 2 years, it's been more Austin Dillon. However you want to talk about, he got his wins. He's been getting wins. Kyle Busch has not. And here again, Austin Dillon started 12th, finished 11th. Kyle Busch started 24th, finished 28th. I mean, he was lapped down and had issues with Kyle Larson early on, and that just baffles me, blows my mind. I don't get it. I don't have your answer, Sharon.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher. And every year we keep thinking that maybe this will be the year that they kind of turn that ship around. But it was a difficult race. He kept falling deep in the field. He showed the frustration over the radio. There was outrageous questions about Richard Childress Racing performance. And, they've been around too long to be having these kind of struggles. I just don't understand how they've fallen so far back. It makes you wonder if there's not. We said this about Roush Fenway Racing a few years back.
Right.
Was there something systemic within the organization that was holding them back? They brought in Brad Keselowski, and they are finally starting to get that ship turned around. Chris Buescher in the top 10 with that 6th place finish this week, and Brad Keselowski top 10. So what's it going to take for them to turn it around at Richard Childress Racing? You'd think with one of the best drivers in NASCAR, they'd be able to figure it out, but there's something wrong.
And here's where, and I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but I think we've seen Kyle Busch go through what we were talking about with Denny Hamlin. Didn't manage his emotions real well, then went to Joe Gibbs, kind of settled down, got in a groove, was winning races and championships, had to restart, and we saw him come out the gate strong. But I think right now, we might be seeing of him losing his cool a little bit, and that's not helping the team, that's hurting it. Because like I said, over the past couple of years, the good races we've seen have been from Austin Dillon. So, that's where I think that emotional part of Kyle Busch coming back. And I understand everybody, you're frustrated. Kyle Busch used to get frustrated when he finished second. So, that's what he's used to. And now we're talking about 28th. He'd be happy with a lead lap finish or a top 10, Sharon, if you got the answer, I said, I don't have it. If you got it, give RCR a ring, because I'm sure he wants it.
I don't have the answer. I'm missing a couple of comments here from All Sports All Day. He says, yes, it is RCR and horrible cars, but what if it isn't? What if Kyle is seriously out of it? As a Kyle fan, I hope it's what we all think. Can he please get a good ride next year? I need to know. I hope it's just bad cars. I hope he's still got it. I think that Kyle Busch does still have it. I really think Kyle Busch has it. I really think it's something systemic at RCR, and something's not right with the cars that they're getting. I don't know if there's a communication breakdown. I don't know what it is. I wish I knew, because I'd go and knock on the door at Welcome North Carolina and say, I've got the answer for you, but I don't. So I hope that they figure it out. They're the ones who have to figure it out. And they have to take a serious look at themselves, I think, in order to figure it out. And that's not a ding on RCR. I think it happens in a lot of organizations. But they have to be willing to share information. They have to be willing to talk, have those hard discussions and figure those kind of things out. And you can't be passing the blame. You got to take a serious, hard look internally and figure out what needs to happen different.
Well, and one of the things, not to go off on a tangent of a different possible hot topic, but Days of Thunder 2 being talked about and drivers being talked to. When I think about that, of Cole Trickle in the movie, Cole Trickle wanted crew chief to adjust the car to him and his driving style versus him adjusting to the car. And we've talked about this in the past. Drivers such as Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, talking about this next gen car and how to drive it off the right front instead of the right rear. Kyle seems to still be fighting that. And he said it himself. He used to be able to get out and fix the car himself because he had that knowledge. He can't do that anymore. He doesn't have the engineering background, which is what it takes nowadays. And he said, I don't know how to give the feedback because I don't understand the adjustments. So there is part of that of him being the old school driver, but he's got to figure it out. I mean, That's
true. It's probably a little bit of both. I think you're right in that we've said this before, that Kyle Busch has struggled with this next gen car. It does not suit his driving style. And he has struggled with, he needs that extra practice time. He's had practice time this year, but it still isn't helping him for the reasons that you just outlined. He's got to let go of some things and be willing to listen, I think, too. So again, it's those good, hard discussions that have to take place. And you bring it up, it's probably a little bit of both.
And the other ironic thing is we were talking about Kyle Larson staying sharp by being in other series, other things. Kyle Busch is kind of tailored back on that. He doesn't run the O'Reilly Auto Parts anymore. Is that part of it? You mentioned it, and he is one that he'll tell you that. Yeah, he would love to have more practice because that means he can work on the car and figure it out. So that definitely was one of the things that when they took that away hurt a driver like him, because he is one. You give him a little bit of time to work with it, he's going to figure it out.
Yes, exactly. And everybody has said this, the way you drive the O'Reilly car is a lot of that cannot translate to this next gen car in the Cup Series.
But just the seat time, the track time, and I know it sounds funny of saying a driver like Kyle Busch needs more track time, but just the overall of feeling a car, of maybe losing not necessarily his driving talent, but the ability to feel the car. And you're right, the O'Reilly and the Cup are very different, but you see these drivers that talk about it of just that being in the seat and being sharp, maybe it is. He was used to racing 3 times a weekend. He's only racing once. And I know he's spending time with Braxton and absolutely loves that. And that's great as a dad. But then you got to be able to, like you said, Sharon, okay, get what you need from another driver, whether it be Austin Dillon or whatever, and listen and say, okay, Chase Elliott. I mean, he was one that said the same thing. He was having a tough time figuring out how to adapt to it, and he appears to have. We see him back running. We haven't seen him winning like he was, but he's running top 5 again. So he has figured out how to drive the car. Like I said, I think it's that mentality of I'll adapt to the car versus, hey, you fix the car to adapt to me.
Yes. I think that there's some truth to that. I think it's a good point, Jay. Okay, let's talk about another hot topic from the Cup Series, and that's the Ross Chastain versus Daniel Suarez. And Daniel kind of expressing some animosity with Trackhouse via Chastain and previously with SVG. So your thoughts about what's going on there?
Well, first off, can either one of you or anybody listening, I know All Sports All Day is the one comment, and I know we got other viewers, but I didn't see what on the track brought it about. I saw the post-race bumping and banging, and then the discussion / poking post race. And let me tell you, if you get Daniel Suarez fired up, you've done something. I mean, he's a pretty mellow dude, you know. So, like I said, I don't know what it was on the track, but I do recall him having the altercation and discussion with SVG. It just made me feel like, man, maybe there is some animosity towards the organization that let him go.
Well, and he's saying that he also said in his post-race interview that he's had a weird relationship with Chastain. Daniel with a little chip on his shoulder. Let's see. It looked like Suarez bumped him the tiniest bit in 2 with 3 to go or so.
Okay.
Something really minor. Yeah, I thought it was something really minor too, because I didn't even see anything. And I don't know who was the upset one, if it was Daniel Suarez or if it was Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain approached Daniel Suarez, I believe. And Daniel seemed to be confused as to why he was so upset.
And now I'm trying to think of it. Correctly? No, on pit road, it certainly was. Now I'm trying to remember who bumped who on the cool down lap. If that was Chastain coming, let's check our statistician here. He's on top of things. What you got,
Chastain was upset, and Suarez approached him to see why he was upset. Okay.
And was that from the cool down lap as well? Chastain bumped him on the cool down lap. Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, I know they were bumping and banging with each other, and I was trying to figure out where it was all stemming from, and I couldn't really figure out where it was stemming from other than the fact that they were bumping and banging with each other. But there does seem to be Chastain declined to comment after the conversation, and Suarez seemed to be confused as to why, other than he approached him, I guess, to find out why he was upset.
Well, and this is one of those, and we've talked about this with a couple other drivers of, I don't know if Ross Chastain has any reason to be upset with anybody for how they drive and bumping and banging. And I've defended Chastain in his driving style, but, and I'll say Joey Logano, if you're going to dish it out, you got to be able to take it as well.
Yes. And there might be something, and they talked about it as on the show as well. The commentators were saying not Chastain, but Suarez may have a little bit, and they didn't use chip on the shoulder, but I'll use All Sports All Day's word, a little bit of a chip on his shoulder by being let go from Trackhouse Racing. But he also, if you read between the lines, I also sensed that he wasn't feeling that comfortable at Trackhouse Racing. I think he felt that he was on the outside looking in a lot of times at the organization. And so maybe there is subconsciously or whatever, a little bit of bad feelings on Suarez's part that maybe he's taking out on the drivers on the track subconsciously.
Well, and he talked about that after his release and finding a new ride. And I understand where he's coming from. He was Trackhouse Racing. He was the foundation of what they were building upon. And all of a sudden, you brought in SVG, start with Ross Chastain. Okay, you got a teammate, get it. Let's work together, build an organization. But then it was SVG came in, and then Connor Zilic is who ultimately bumped him out, if you will, from one aspect. Okay, and in my head, and I did look at this. If I were Daniel Suarez, he's controlled himself better than I would. Because let's see where he's at in points. I was going to look that up real quick. I know he's had a strong start. Oh, he slid down a little bit this past week. 17th. He's had a very strong start, but he is now 17th in points. However, my answer would be, where's your golden boy that you wanted so badly, Connor Zilic? Dead last. Yeah. He's 35th in points. That's just me. Again, he's done a better job of not responding with that. What I would do if I were him, though, is look at where he's at. He got the ride with Spire Motorsports. I feel like they are very much on the rise. They've been stronger than they were and getting stronger. Try to focus on that. And I say that because I know it, like I said, my answer would have been like, where's your golden boy?
Yeah. Well, and Daniel Suarez does work very hard at his craft. He was one of the drivers when he was coming up through the ranks. Spent a lot of time talking with Kyle Busch, ironically, about how to be a better driver. And he studied Kyle Busch quite a lot. And he works really hard. And I think he's gotten the kind of the bad end of things a couple of times in his career already. So I can understand where he's coming from, but he's got to let all of that go and really focus on his craft. All Sports All Day says he also said a few months ago that they were giving him as good equipment, mind you, same things he said at same things he said at SHR and JGR. I think Daniel Suarez does try to put forward a very positive attitude about the organizations that he works with. You don't really hear him say bad things about the organization. He's going to say they're giving him good equipment, I think. And then he'll try to work it out, I think, behind the scenes with them.
Right.
But I don't see him being somebody who airs the dirty laundry. And he does try to put a positive attitude out there. So I just think it's sad that this is happening between him and a former teammate, Ross Chastain.
And you mentioned it, and I'm glad he brought it up. All Sports All Day brought it up because I was going to ask him to verify it anyway. But yeah, he kind of got the boot. The driver pushed out the door at Joe Gibbs Racing, and then at Stewart-Haas Racing as well. And like I said, of really feeling like, hey, Trackhouse believes in me, and then they did for a year or two, and then, like I said, they brought. And again, if you have the opportunity to get Ross Chastain, who wouldn't? You have the opportunity to bring in a road course racer like SVG, and under the Chase playoff format that was there, it showed why. He won races, he got in the playoffs. That's big money, okay? But then to be pushed all the way out the door with Connor Zilic, that's got to grind on you. I don't care how positive you are. I'm a fairly positive person, and he's handling it better. Right, he's handling it way better than I would have. Like I said, that would have accidentally come out my mouth already of, hey, where is Connor Zilic? You know?
Yeah. Let me just say, All Sports All Day did make a correction here. He also said a few months ago that they were not giving him not as good of equipment, is what he meant to say there. So he felt like he was getting inferior equipment from everybody else at all three organizations. So whether or not that's true, I don't know. It would be pretty sad if it is.
Well, again, you go back to Joe Gibbs Racing. He was put in to replace Carl Edwards. You had Kyle Busch there. So I can see where a driver, especially if they aren't the ones dominating, and at JGR it was Kyle Busch, and then you had Chase Briscoe, I think, as he came in. So yeah, I can see where he may feel that. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea. You know, we've wondered that when it comes to any multi-car organizations, and you see one or two drivers doing really well and one not as well, are they truly getting the same equipment? And there again, we can't answer that because we're not within the organization, and I don't want to be in a lawsuit with JGR saying so-and-so got this, and so I'm glad I'm not Chris Gabehart.
We don't want any lawsuits here. Okay, so that's I think we've gone about as far as we can go with that one. I think we're all kind of scratching our head, wondering. Hopefully, those guys will be able to sit down and talk about it and work it through. It doesn't sound like they've been able to do that yet, but I like both drivers. I like Ross Chastain. I like Daniel Suarez, and I think the two of them need to just sit down and really talk it through. I hope it's not
detrimental.
Detrimental. Yeah, I hope it's not detrimental. I hope it doesn't have anything to do with him being, he is a citizen of the United States now, but I hope it doesn't have anything to do with nationality or anything like that. I think that would make me really sad if that's the case. But let's go ahead and move on here. Failing pre-tech penalty, not really a penalty. We've said that for how long, Jay? When are they going to change this? We've got cars coming in there failing pre-race tech, and there's no penalties.
And here's the thing.
They call them penalties, but
right.
It's not really a penalty.
If you have a fast car, okay, so what is it? First penalty is you lose, or first failure is you lose your pit stall selection. Second one is the crew member ejected. Third is when you got to go a lap down. And I think that is a penalty, although depending on the track, it can be overcome. But we saw, I think it was 4 teams this weekend had 2 failures and lost the crew members as well as their pit selection, and they all still managed to, for the most part, overcome it or still run well. I just feel like, in my mind, they need to do something of a year-long total. We're talking about year-long points for the championship. Do a year-long total on penalties. Okay, if you only failed twice, that's still the penalty for that race. But if you get into the 5, 6, 7, and 8, at some point, hey, you're doing it every race and it's not working, step it up. Do a running tally of, hey, you've had 5 on the year, this is going to be the penalty. You got 10 on the year, it's a stiffer penalty, because I just don't feel like this is deterring them from doing whatever. And I understand occasionally something happens, something's a little off or whatever, but we're talking multiple cars. And I know, Sharon, you like to point out a lot of times it's Hendrick Motorsports, but they know they got the good cars, good team, they can overcome it. So is it really a penalty?
It's not a penalty for Hendrick Motorsports. You got to start taking away points for failing.
And that, exactly. I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah, I think you got to start taking away points for pre-race failing inspections. You got to come to the track with a legal car. And if you don't come to the track with a legal car, maybe it's 5 points for the first infraction, 10 points for the next, 20 points for the next. Keep doubling it until they stop doing it. I would say you just start with 5 and keep doubling it every time they do it. So it could add up pretty quick. At a certain point, they're going to stop doing it.
Okay. I'm no longer 100% behind Sharon. I'm only like 75%. I don't want to see it ruin their season, but I do agree that it needs to be escalated. Again, you had 2 this week, you took your penalty or whatever, but it's really not, that there needs to be something. And I do like the deduction of points. 5 after the first one, that might be a little steep. You're doubling it every time. Third time, you're up to 20 points. I don't know if I'd go
doing it.
I know we've talked about this. You definitely want to bring the hammer. I'm not saying it shouldn't get to that. I don't know if it needs to escalate quite that quickly, but I will say this. When we looked at what they called the encumbered win, you still get the win, you lose this or that. When they said, hey, if you don't pass post-race tech, you get no points. How many have we seen since then? Very limited. I'm not saying they haven't happened, but they've been very far and few between compared to what there had been.
The win away.
Exactly. And that hurt. You get no points. That hurts. So, yeah, I see where you're coming from, Sharon. Like, let's use a little bit of a thump on the head. Let's not get the sledgehammer yet. But I do agree with the escalating it multiple, again, especially as you get deeper into the season of, hey, you've had 3, 4, 5 races. Yeah, there needs to be a penalty that's going to hurt.
Yes, I 100% think you need to make it hurt. Okay.
And I think about that situation of, did it get everybody's attention with Austin Hill when they suspended him and he didn't get his playoff points, and that put him 21 points behind what he would have been? That hurt. I mean, it cost him. There is no doubt about it. And we haven't seen anybody else in that position, have we?
No, no. I'm not sure what you meant there by All Sports All Day. All I saw was the word wouldn't. Wouldn't what?
Wouldn't go all sharing on them. Sorry.
I'm not sure. Hopefully he'll elaborate on that a little bit. Okay, also, let's move on here with our topics because, the new pit road rule. I remember going to the tracks and I remember seeing the pit crew pouring Coca-Cola all over their pit stall in order to create traction for the cars when they come in. They made it real sticky. But they can't do that anymore. No chemicals or scraping pit stalls to increase grip. Is that a good or a bad move? And what precipitated that, do you think, Jay?
Well, first off, and I didn't, when they announced this Friday and through the weekend, I don't know that I heard anybody give a definitive if the Coca-Cola was considered a chemical. They said that would be a NASCAR. Well, and like I said, I didn't get a definitive, but it was one of those of, do you want to push NASCAR and put that in their hands to make that call? I wouldn't. But they talked about doing other chemicals that they were spraying down, whatever PJ1 adhesive that the track uses, a variety of things, but also the scraping and scuffing of the pit stall, I guess, was some of the stuff. So again, you can use, from what I understood, a broom to sweep it, but yeah, you cannot scuff it or dig into it so that there's that rigid and gives you more grip. One of the things, again, initially I didn't understand why they were making this a rule change and against it. One of the things that they talked about, though, it gave me understanding, was the chemicals blurring the pit box outline, which affects the camera angles, whether or not they're in or out of their box. The timing lines that are across the track apparently was starting to affect and get into some of them, causing some issues.
That was intentional.
From my knowledge, give them the benefit of the doubt. I think it was purely about grip. Were there some teams that had discovered this? Hey, if we kind of blur this line, they don't know if we're across it. We've seen it. Yeah, drivers, teams, engineers, Frankie Stoddard, they'll pull something out of their hat you would have never thought they would even try, and they make it work, and NASCAR has to make a rule. So obviously they felt there were some questionable things, so they made a rule. And like I said, when they explained that of the pit road, the lines and the timing lines and everything, I was like, man, there are some smarter people out there than me if they were intentionally doing that.
Well, I really do think to me until you were just talking about
right. I mean, either. That's what I said. I was like, I didn't understand why they made it a rule. So I appreciate, and I don't remember which show I was watching that they explained that, but that at least gave me some understanding of why. Because again, I was like, if teams are finding a way to get grip in their pit stall, but yeah, there is some long-term damage as well as then some questionable things of scoring and crossing that line when they pit, whatnot. So I'm okay with it. Everybody knows it. Like I said, whether or not the Coca-Cola, again, now if I'm standing there and I happen to spill it by accident or intentionally, I think back, I look at the thing of you can't make an adjustment to the car. And they penalize the team for the jackman bumping into the car. I'm like, no. And you watch them, they were doing it. They were intentionally hip checking the car to put a dent in it. And I was like, wow, NASCAR's smarter than I am. They caught them. I mean,
I remember when they were doing that. Yeah.
And when they first penalized that, and then when they first penalized them, I'm like, come on, they are not intentionally or smart enough to figure out where to hip check and put a dent. And yeah, you go back and watch them. It was clearly an intentional thing of where they were hitting the car, and there was no reason for them to have bumped into the car in that manner. I'm like, yeah, they were doing it and they got caught.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And we say this all the time. The reason rules are put in place is because somebody has pushed the envelope.
Somebody's doing something. Yep.
Yes. And so the only people you can blame for these kind of rules being put into place are the people that are forcing it by doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So I think it's a good move that NASCAR has made that decision, especially based on what you were saying. I think they did the right thing here. They had to do something about it, and they did.
And again, when I first heard it, it wasn't that I was against it. I just didn't understand why NASCAR would even care. They backed it up as to why they were doing it, and I can't argue against it.
You can't argue
So,
it. Yeah.
I was thinking about that. You said of just trying different things. Again, you talk about putting pinholes in tires or in the back of the car into the trunk. What does a pinhole matter? Obviously, it does, or they wouldn't be doing it.
They're doing it because it matters.
That's right.
Right. Okay, our favorite topic is up next. JGR Inspire lawsuit update. I saw a few posts on it earlier. Denny Hamlin actually attended the hearing earlier, sitting with JGR's contingent that included Joe Gibbs, Heather Gibbs, Dave Alpern, Spire's Chris Gabehart, and Jeff Dickerson were also present. The hearing concluded with the judge extending the temporary restraining order against Chris Gabehart to next week. She also granted JGR's request for expedited discovery and Gabehart's request for reciprocal discovery. The judge did deny JGR's request to subpoena Spire's communication with employees. I couldn't believe that they did this. They subpoenaed, they wanted the employees' communication with Haas, Trackhouse, and Rick Ware Racing regarding the supposed sharing of JGR trade secrets. So the judge denied that request to subpoena their communication. So that one did not go JGR's way. The next hearing in the JGR request for preliminary injunction against Gabehart and Spire is on March the 26th. The judge has allowed for some expedited discovery, as I mentioned, and the temporary restraining order was extended until that next hearing. So, your thoughts, Jay?
I'm a race fan, not a politics fan or a courtroom fan. I just, I did, and I guess it would say it was intentional. I hadn't looked. I knew they had the meeting today. Hadn't seen or even bothered to look into because I really don't care. I do, but I don't. Again, I don't want to see Gabehart be withheld from making a living doing what he enjoys. However, if there were some violations of things he said he wouldn't do with the non-disclosure agreement, does it need to be addressed? Yes. The one thing that kind of caught my attention, and I don't know exactly who it was from the JGR side, if it was Joe Gibbs himself or somebody on his behalf, saying to where they were now, they can't just settle it, they have to see it through. I don't know if I buy into that. If it can be worked out, again, we saw this in the previous lawsuit with 2311, and the judge is telling them that. Be like, can't y'all just figure it out and be done with it, put it behind you and go racing? And they didn't give a reason. That was what really blew me, was they didn't give a reason. They just said they had to see it through. No, I don't agree with that. If there's a way something can be worked out, whatever money paid back, and again, if that's deserved and owed, I get it. There was some question as it pertained to sponsorship deals or driver tampering. I don't know all the rules on that in NASCAR. If the driver's under contract, can you talk to him? I think back to Tyler Reddick when Denny Hamlin and them signed him a year early. Was that a legal issue? I don't know. But Richard Childress Racing dealt with it. Initially, they said, no, he's driving for us next year. Then they said, you want to know what? That's just going to cause problems. Let him go. Is it ideal? No. You thought that was your driver of the future, and turns out should have been, whatnot. But to fight about it, that ain't going to help nobody. It's not.
Right. Well, in a way, though, I kind of understand what JGR is saying. It's kind of like closing the door after the cows get out. if there is a if there are trade secrets that have been disclosed to other organizations, they're wanting to see it through. They want to be compensated for what they've lost. So I kind of understand what they're saying. But at the same time, I keep thinking there's got to be something more to this. I can't believe that they sent a private investigator to follow him. I mean, there's just so much going on here. And then we hear all kinds of things. And a lot of it is positioning, things that are being said to position them in the best favorable light from a public point of view. But what really matters is what the judge thinks. And I don't think the judge has been too impressed so far. So I don't know. We'll see where this continues to go. It's hard to know exactly with the way everything's being positioned.
And that's a big thing. You're right, Sharon. As we talk about it, we have no insight. This is all what we're hearing, and they may be credible sources. But like you said, yeah, you talk to this side, they're going to say, "Oh, they did this, they did this, they did that." Talk to the other side. Well, they did this, that. Okay. Is there the possibility of grandson Ty Gibbs being preferentially treatment? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't work within the Joe Gibbs Racing organization. From the outside, could I see that? Do we see it with Austin Dillon at Richard Childress Racing? Kevin Harvick thought so because he left the organization because of it. And again, is that true or is it perception? Maybe Harvick or Gabehart felt like that just because he got told no once on something that pertained to him. I don't know. Is there animosity between Daniel Suarez and Trackhouse? Don't know. Can you see where there could be? Yes. The one thing that I look at when I saw this all unfolding, the fact that they had hired the private investigator almost makes me feel like they saw something happening, and rather than saying, "Hey, stop, don't do that," they said, "We're going to let you do it. We're going to hire the PI. We're going to prove it and cause a bigger deal."
And then we're going to see afterwards.
I mean, yeah, setting them up for this.
Exactly.
Like I said, if you see somebody taking a cookie out of the cookie jar, smack their hand and say, "No, don't do that," versus I'm going to let you do it. And after you have 5 of them in your pocket, then I'm going to bust you.
Yeah. And why would you let them do it? I don't understand. But yeah.
But that's just my perspective from the outside looking in.
Right. Again, we're not insiders. We don't know. And there's very few people who do know other than the people that are involved. So,
well, my private investigator that I sent to find all this out for me hasn't gotten back to me yet.
No? Oh,
no.
Darn.
He hasn't gotten back. Maybe he couldn't get in. I don't know. I only paid him $5
if they win. That's exactly. I agree. That's what they're going after is the money. And that's why they let him do it, because they could sue him and get a bunch of money.
There too, you're going to have to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt. $8 million. Yeah. Again, you'd have to prove you lost a championship because of it, and I just don't see that.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know. It's their situation, and they obviously feel that they need to do something about it. But if they set them up to do it to get $8 million, then that's a shame on you kind of thing.
I would like to see an itemized thing of where they came up with the $8 million. That's a document I would like to read. How did you come up with $8 million?
Yeah, it is interesting. But it feels like a soap opera to me. It feels like
exactly.
As the NASCAR wheel turns.
Right. There you go.
The next episode will be coming up next week. So,
well, here we go. All Sports All Day has an answer.
$8 million is the cost of a technical alliance. Okay, so
Thank
that's
you.
where they came up with the $8 million.
All right, how much do we owe All Sports All Day for uncovering this information for us? You get a thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. Get them on screen. Yeah, there we go.
I can't even find the screen here. Okay.
All right, that was all embarrassing.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
These guys can't even get their thumbs on screen.
There we go. I found it. Two thumbs up.
Still better than I'm doing. There we go.
Okay, so that's really good. All Sports Are They. Thank you for that.
And whether or not I agree with it, that at least is okay. I understand how they came on the number.
Now
so
we understand how they came up with it. So thank you for that information. It's just, I don't know. It just seems like a soap opera to me for some reason.
I agree.
And I wish it would stop. And we don't need to be creating barriers between organizations with this kind of stuff. I hope they can walk away from it the same way that NASCAR and 2311 did, with, shaking hands and putting a united front together when they came out of it. But I don't see that happening here. I think it's going to be the wall.
Well, and I see it from two different sides. I think back in the day, and I can't believe I'm old enough and I'm saying that, but back in the day, you could have trade secrets, again, barring somebody going and sharing information. But in this day of technology, I mean, heck, when you look at the teams have all the other teams' data, how fast they're going, when they're letting off the gas and the brake in the corner and whatnot, I'm like, is there now with it being that competitive, and we see this on the speeds on the track, it used to be, well, if you could find a way to make up a second or two, you gain on them. And we're talking tenths or thousandths of a second now. Every little bit does matter. So yeah, it is that more vital to protect it. But again, is it the 8 million? And now, like I said, at least I have some frame of reference of if they're saying, hey, you're sharing information that we would normally charge an alliance team for $8 million. Again, I think that's a little over the top, but at least there's something there of why that amount and what they're trying to justify it by. I'll give them that.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate the feedback there, and think we're coming to the end of our notes here. Is there anything else that you had on your list there, Jay?
Well, I know we were going to try, and that's where I don't even know where you jumped into. Maybe I didn't get an updated one.
Well, I've got some that were potential if we had time. We're kind of coming up to the 2-hour mark here.
Are we already? Holy cow! Well, hour and 37. How about our new segment? Are we going to do that? That was the one I was reading, the winners and losers, riding the wave and sinking ship. You got me excited about this. Riding the tide. I've been watching all weekend of who my riding the tide was and who was my sinking ship.
Oh, okay. The Vegas winners and losers. The race winners, of course, are winners. Drivers gaining momentum, teams that are showing speed, the people who are struggling, drivers with the bad finishes, strategy mistakes, teams lacking speed. Okay, so where do you want to begin there? The winners.
Well, I got to look at the side of
graphic for that too. Let me see.
There we go.
The graphic for winners and losers.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to know what you found for the sinking ship, but we'll start with the good.
I just did a winners or losers one.
Okay.
All
right. What you got?
Okay. Let me see if I can pull it up here.
And I will say this, it may take some time, but Sharon's been working hard. We did this off camera the other night, went through some stuff. Sharon's been doing a great job trying to find new production value.
So things to make it just a little bit more interesting. This is in my Canva. I haven't, whoops. Let's do this.
All right. So with that up, for me, for the winners, obviously you have the winner of the race. Kind of staying within the Toyota umbrella right now, very solidly. I still look at 2311, specifically Bubba Wallace. And I say that because Tyler Reddick, we expected to be a winner last year, had a little bit of an off year, came out so strong, got those 3 wins, set a record, and is still, again, his bad day was 13th. But I look to the other half of that of, I think we're seeing what Bubba Wallace is truly capable of in so far this year, so very consistent, started 4th, finished 9th, 2nd in points. So for me, and I don't know if I'd say surprise, but finally seeing that solid week in, week out consistency. And again, he was a little bit off on the road courses, but better than he had done in previous road courses. So that would be my top winner. The other one, though, would be, man, I don't know where I want to put him. Christopher Bell and Chase Briscoe. I'll put them together, the two C's. Rising back up. They had a little bit of a rough start, so I see them climbing back up to the top category where I feel they belong. They had a little bit of a rough start. They're on the rise again, back to where they should be. Again, maybe not winning. Christopher Bell had the pole, ended up fourth. He was kind of hard on himself, said he lost the race. I don't know about that, but was in contention. And then Chase Briscoe, both in the O'Reilly and here in the Cup Series, started 18th, finished 8th, overcoming the things. That's what we talk about seeing from a championship contending team.
Yes, I would agree. Denny Hamlin, obviously a winner. Kyle Larson, a big winner this weekend. Hendrick Motorsports winning big this weekend. I would say Chase Briscoe. I put Chase Briscoe in that category as well, overcoming adversity and moving up front. He's had a really rough start to this season. He was a kind of on the loser side of things up until this race. And I think Las Vegas kind of showed some signs that he's turning that ship around and is more on the winner side now. On the loser side, we talked about Kyle Busch and RCR. Those guys can't seem to get things moving. Justin Allgaier kind of ended up on the losing side, even though he's still leading the points. He's still doing really well. They kind of closed the gap on him a little bit there. That late race moved, at the end of the race, he kind of didn't close the deal. Sam Mayer, I would call on the losing side of things. He kind of shot himself in the foot. So I'd put him in that category of being on the losing side. Chevrolet has both winners and losers. It seems like Chevrolet Hendrick Motorsports is the winner's side of that. RCI is the losing side of that. So those are the ones that kind of come to my mind.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, though, I kind of came at it as a different perspective. I was kind of looking at a momentum of the year, not just this race, but it does pertain to the race as well. And you mentioned Chevrolet, and I would agree with that, especially Hendrick Motorsports. You mentioned Kyle Busch, though, and that one is kind of split because, like I said, Austin Dillon, solid, started 11th, finished 12th. But Kyle Busch not. So Kyle Busch would be on my sinking ship side, and that's for not just this year, but a trend overall. And then the other one is still Team Penske of Austin Cindric. You mentioned Chase Briscoe, and Jayski's doesn't show on the points of positions gained or lost. I want to say Chase Briscoe climbed 8 or 9, as did Denny Hamlin in the points. Chase Briscoe is now 26 in points. And that tells you, even if he gained 4 or 5 spots where he was, Austin Cindric still in 30th. And then one that, talk about, I don't know if it's a sinking ship, never got out of the dock, Connor Zillage. I mean, I get not everybody's going to come out and do what he did in the O'Reilly parts last year, but I did not expect his season to start like this. And like I said, that's why that came to mind of Daniel Suarez. Be like, you got a trump card in your pocket if you want it. He's had decent run, but just not what I expected, unfortunately.
Well, Bubba Wallace gained 1. Ryan Blaney lost 1. Denny Hamlin moved up 8 spots. I think he's the biggest gainer this week. Chase Elliott actually dropped 1. Kyle Larson gained 3, as did William Byron. Ty Gibbs gained 5. Joey Logano was on the losing side this week too. A lot of people thought he might be a contender. He actually lost ground. He went down 4. Brad Keselowski and Ryan Preece both went up. Brad 4, Ryan Preece up 5. Michael McDowell, Carson Hocevar, Shane Van Gisbergen dropped a lot. He went down.
He was
11.
the biggest. Yep, he was the biggest.
He's the biggest drop. Michael McDowell down 6 and Carson Hocevar down 1. Daniel Suarez maintained. He stayed the same. AJ Allmendinger down 5. Ross Chastain up 3. John Hunter Nemechek up 1. Kyle Busch down 2. Riley Earps up 1. Austin Dillon. When you talk about the RCR, Austin Dillon went up 5. Kyle Busch went down 2. Ty Dillon down 4. Chase Briscoe moved up 7.
Okay, Eric I knew Jones he was right around the same as Hamlin.
Noah Gragson down 3. Ricky Stenhouse down 2. Austin Cindric maintained. Todd Gilliland down 5. Josh Berry down 1. Cody Ware down 1. Cole Custer up 1. Connor Zilic down 1. So, wow. That's a shocker on I didn't expect it to be that much for Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yeah, that was they were talking and what are you looking at there, Sharon? So I can remember that because I like that chart where it has the green and red arrows.
Yeah, that's on NASCAR.com standings.
Okay. I'll have to remember that to pull theirs up. Thank you. But yeah, that is huge. And especially we're talking about Denny Hamlin, the biggest jump, getting those 15 bonus points for the win, affects that. Throughout the rest of the field, we saw for the most part, 1 or 2 up or down. The mid-pack, though, SVG, I believe, actually finished dead last, if I'm not mistaken, in the race. Yeah. It's the momentum he had I would have had him on the winner's side for the season. Thank you. I like that, Sharon.
Yeah. Can you
what
see
he had
it?
built. Yep. What he had built throughout the first part of the season, unfortunately taken away with that one bad race, finishing dead last. Now, again, running well, started 16th, but ended up 36th. I don't know what he got as far as stage points this week. Not enough, apparently not any, because he only had 1 point overall. So,
which driver are you talking about?
Shane Van Gisbergen.
Oh, yes.
And that drop. But in that middle of the pack, if you're not talking about wins and getting those stage points, you can see a big jump as Shane Van Gisbergen did. Even though he had been solid all year, everybody else is right there with him. We talk about how 1 or 2 positions matter. Well, he dropped a bunch. So that's unfortunate. Hopefully he can get it back and continue, because he really, like I said, he would have been on my riding the tide up until that. And I looked at it, I was looking at it kind of as a season, not just this race.
Okay.
But yeah, it was all wiped away. Is he a sinking ship yet? I wouldn't say so. We got to see how they rebound now next week, Darlington.
Yeah. So from your winner and loser side, I was looking at it from the race side. Who's gaining momentum? You'd have to say the ones with that green arrow are the ones that are the biggest winners here. And Ty Gibbs up 5. I think anybody who gained 5 or more points, Denny Hamlin winning the race up 8.
And Ty Gibbs is one of them I did want to mention. Again, I'm not quite ready to put him on riding the tide on the high side, but certainly getting in a groove and gaining momentum for 2 and 3 weeks in a row now.
Austin Dillon +5, Chase Briscoe up 7. So those are your big gainers this week.
And All Sports All Day jumped in here. What scares me with,
Ryan Preece up 5.
Said what scares him with Zilic is the rough 2 weeks in the O'Reilly. And this crossed my mind is the rough start to the Cup Series affecting him when he makes these starts in the O'Reilly? I don't know if there's a connection. That's just kind of a thought I had of how hard the Cup Series is on him now. Again, he is one. I get it. Used to winning. I mean, he gets out of the car and a broken collarbone, comes back and is winning races after that. That's what you're used to. And this is a major step. And yeah, maybe that is affecting him a little bit.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. Connor Zilic was on this list. Let's see. He lost ground, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
he only dropped
went
one,
down
but
he's
the
in
fact that he's
35th.
at the very bottom,
Yeah, he's in
you
35th.
can't lose anything if you're at the bottom.
Yeah, you can't lose anything more. I'm wondering what's going on with Cole Custer. I thought he would be doing much better this season, as is coming back. I feel bad for him. He's really good in the Xfinity series, but he really struggles in this Cup series.
He does, and that's one of those too, though, of I can't put all on him because, again, when he went to Stewart Haas Racing, they were going through their organizational structure change, then the shutdown, staying with Haas Factory, and I stand by him if they were standing behind him, but then they switched manufacturers. So that, again, is another, is it a huge factor? I don't know. I've never changed manufacturers. It is an adjustment, and it just seems like they can never get any consistency. But you mentioned it, Sharon. That is at the Cup level. And let me see if I have the O'Reilly parts. Where did he finish? Because he ran in the O'Reilly Auto Parts this weekend. How did he do?
Oh, okay. Let me look here.
Yeah, I'm pulling that. Oh, my screen went blank. There we go. Started 16th, finished 18th. And he was running, again, I would have said solid, yeah. So kind of maintained, like you said. But that's at least better showing than he's had in the Cup Series.
Yeah, yeah. So those were your gainers and losers, your winners and losers, I guess. He was in 2 incidences, All Sports All Day is saying. Custer was. He did have a couple of run-ins, I think.
And you're right, and that's where again I felt like actually his performance was better than his finish because he did have to overcome them.
Yeah, yeah. So, anybody you see, Chase Briscoe, I think, has the biggest momentum. Denny Hamlin, big momentum going there. That's the Toyota side and the momentum they're building this year. I can't think any strategy mistakes.
Well, again, from what I saw this weekend and what we talked about, and it could have happened to Denny Hamlin, is that if you're out front leading, what adjustments are you making to the car to make sure you're still as good or better and better? Because like I said, if you're running 4th or 5th, you're trying to make your car better. If you're out front leading, I understand you don't want to mess it up, so you don't want to make any major adjustments, but you got to, because everybody else is working on getting better.
Exactly.
That would be my strategy issue for the weekend.
Yes, I think that's a good one. Okay, I think let's talk about this week's watch list. Hot Topic Sound Off will be back again next Monday night, 8:15 p.m. East Central Time here on Fan for Racing Radio. 2 interviews tomorrow. One interview, Kenna Mitchell is going to be interviewed. She raced in the Cars Tour West this weekend and won the race. So I'm kind of excited about that. So Sal is going to be interviewing Kenna Mitchell tomorrow. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. That'll probably come out sometime tomorrow night. And then I'm interviewing, guess who?
Let's see. Have you mentioned it before? I'm trying to think of anybody you said you were going to reach out. Eric Johnson Jr.
Well, no, I'm going to interview Taz.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right.
At Dreamfield Speedway in New York, Acton, New York. And we're going to talk to him about being a flagger at the local racetrack and get his side of things. Plus, I think it's a great way for us to kind of get to know one another here on Fan for Racing Radio. So probably be interviewing a few of you guys as we go through the season here so that fans get to know who we are. So definitely looking forward to that. And he says, That race Kenna won was a really good race. I watched it Saturday night. Okay, thank
Good
you,
deal.
All Sports All Day. I'm kind of looking forward to hearing this interview tomorrow. Sal's going to interview Kenna Mitchell tomorrow night. And I don't know if that's a first or not, that a female has won in the Cars Tour. I think it might be a first. So I have to
Good
do
deal.
research on that. Trevor Huddleston's brother was in it. Yeah, Tanner Huddleston was also in that race. Yes. And so I'll give you some details on that. I want to make sure that, well, I'm sure that Sal will have some of that information. But yeah, there was some, it was a really good race from everything I heard. And I don't know, do you know if there's a way that we can watch a replay on that? All Sports All Day? Is
If it was on, if
Is
it was
it
on
on-
Flow Racing, you should be able to access it. I don't know if they have a time like a 24 hours or 48 hours before it's available for replay. Yeah,
I'll see if I can watch that on Flow Racing. Yeah, it should be on Flow Racing somewhere. That's what I was thinking too. So if it's not on Flow, it might be on Racing America.
and I say it might be that they have like a 24 or 48 hour delay before you can watch it on replay. Some of them do that.
I might have to watch the highlights. But
Right.
I did hear it was a really good race. So thank you for sharing that, Flo. All Sports All Day. So definitely look for those interviews to be coming out sometime tomorrow. On Wednesday, the Race Chat Live guys will be back at 6 p.m. Central Time. That is Chris Crichton, Taz Taylor, as well as CJ Sports. They'll all be here to talk about the midweek storylines that are developing and give their thoughts about that. The next race is going to be Darlington. All three series are going to be racing: the Truck Series, the O'Reilly Series, and the Cup Series, of course. And let's see, All Sports All Day says I went to Flow and then went to Saturday. Both races in the Car Tours West were there. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. I will definitely check that out. Anyway, so all three series racing this week at Darlington Raceway. I think Christopher Bell, maybe some others have said the racing, oh, maybe it was Denny Hamlin, racing is going to be out of control this weekend at Darlington. They've got the higher horsepower. And I know Chris Bell says the higher horsepower is good for racing this year. So he thinks it's going to be good at Darlington. It's going to be unlike we have seen before at Darlington. So I think it's going to be a must-see TV, the racing this weekend with the higher horsepower, especially in the Cup Series. But Jay and I will preview all of that on Wednesday night. Those previews will be coming out Thursday and Friday. And Jay, we might just do one on Wednesday night and then two on Thursday, if you're okay with that.
We'll have to talk about that. I got something to bring up here in a minute.
Oh, okay. So anyway, watch for our previews. Fan for Racing Radio, Bear Times Forever. Your mama looking up at me.
No, don't.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yep, I see. So, whoops. Let me.
We'll take care of that later.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move on here.
All right. I'll change the topic here of I'm looking for All Sports All Day. He's been so helpful tonight. I asked for him to throw out a dollar amount. Because Sharon, I got to tell you, I think I'm going to file a lawsuit against you. You've been keeping me from doing other things. I'm going to ask for $8 million just because that was the number I was just. No, I'm just.
What?
We were talking about that. I was like, I wonder if I can sue Sharon. She's keeping me from doing other things. I don't do anything else though. So yeah. All right, $8. We'll take off a couple zeros. We'll go $8.
Okay, so you're saying you're not available on Thursday? Is that what you're telling me?
That we'll have to talk about that.
Okay. We'll see what we can work out. Anyway, I am super excited that Race Chat Live will be back on at 6 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday night. Then Friday, Taz and I sit down and do the fantasy report for Darlington. So we'll help you with all your fantasy picks. And that is your this week's watch list here at Pamper Racing Radio. And anything else you want to add there, Jay?
No, looking forward to it. You're right. I mean, Darlington, again, another one of those races. I know the whole throwback thing has kind of changed a little bit, but I got to give it to RFK with the Greg Biffle paint schemes. Yeah, another great show. Can't wait for Darlington. Absolutely, all sports all day. And as always, that racing is absolutely great. I don't know how you would not be happy with the Darlington race.
Yes, and I want to thank All Sports All Day for his comments tonight. We really appreciate you and all that you do to kind of keep us on track here at Pamper Racing Radio. Okay, so with that, guys, we want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And I do have a closing monologue I wanted to give here. As the NASCAR season continues to build momentum, Las Vegas showed us exactly why intermediate tracks still deliver some of the most compelling racing in the sport. A veteran proved he still has what it takes to win at the highest level, while a visiting superstar reminded everyone just how competitive the O'Reilly Series can be. But perhaps the biggest takeaway from this weekend is that the chase picture is already starting to take shape. Toyota teams are setting the early pace. Hendrick Motorsports is showing signs of strength, and several drivers are proving that they're ready to fight for wins every single week. The season is heating up, and we're just getting started. So thanks for watching Hot Topic Sound Off, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Any other thoughts, Jay, before we close out?
Yeah, I'm just going to say it. It's an elephant in the room. I don't know why y'all are bothering. Find a better hobby.
Yeah.
It'll be taken care of, and I'll leave it at that.
Yep. We'll take
Have a good night.
Okay, take care, everybody. Enjoy your week.